Tata, a look at Uganda human rights situation in the build-up to the 2026 general election, the rising tide of intimidation and detentions. We'll be speaking to George Musisi, a lawyer and aspiring member of parliament for Chira municipality, on some of these issues, what the law says and how exactly the rollout should be expected. In our preamble, we look at the very recent events. Last week on Wednesday, the country was stunned when some UPDF soldiers raided a police station in Rubowa on the Kampala Entebbe Road and beat up police officers and civilians following what was reported as a misunderstanding. The army issued a statement saying the matter was being investigated. It is the latest in a series of events that the army says investigations are underway after soldiers behave in a wayward manner. Similarly, only 4 days after that, Kyagulanyi Sentamu, that's the president of the National Unity Platform's chief bodyguard, Edward Sebufu, better known as Eddie Mutwe, was reportedly abducted in Chiwango village in Mukono by security personnel, but police denied any knowledge of that particular incident nor the whereabouts of Mr. Eddie Mutwe. It was also the latest in a series of events where things happen and the police is oblivious or claims to be oblivious. However, the Chief of Defence Forces, General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, took to his X handle to tell the country that he was holding Mr. Eddie Mutwe in his basement and apparently he was learning some Runyankore. That tweet coming through from that is a tweet that came through from Robert Kyagulanyi was responded to by the CDF, saying that Eddie Mutwe was learning Runyankore in his basement. The CDF also went on to say, if you see Eddie's head now, he looks like, well, what he described there. And he also started learning Runyankore, and that Bamwine, who he describes fondly as Kabobi, was next. And since he was a boxer, he was looking forward to what was no doubt a good match. Then he also went on to say that he would only release Eddie Mutwe on the directives of Musisi being his father, who is the president and commander-in-chief of the armed forces, General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. He also wondered why people think that his tweets or posts are a joke, and that is very poignant. The idea that that particular piece of information coming through. Then, in a turn of events, something that shocked some circles was the chairperson of the Human Rights Commission coming out very boldly and stating that the CDF should be able to provide and reveal Eddie Mutwe's, well, he revealed the whereabouts, but he should be able to release him with immediate effect. Now, that particular statement coming through from the chairperson of the Uganda Human Rights Commission, who over the last few months has been widely seen as a lame duck, was somehow reassuring, especially to some circles. This is the first question I'll throw to George Musisi. The statement there by the chairperson of the Uganda Human Rights Commission, it came through at a time when the nation badly needed somebody to come through. And I think it did a lot in exonerating her contested reputation over the last 1 year.
Thank you, Chris, for having me. Good morning to the viewers. I don't know they did well in exonerating her, or either way it was a pleasant surprise. It was a breath of fresh air from what we've known the Commission for. Personally, I've been one of the biggest critics of the Commission, especially in the last 5 years. We've seen all sorts of violations. We've seen extrajudicial detentions, we've seen extrajudicial killings, we've seen incidents of torture, we've seen kidnaps, abductions in broad daylight by security. And we've seen missing persons for the first time in a very long time. And I've always said that the Commission, or by extension all other institutions which are meant to be the vanguards, to be the final defenders of the Constitution, have not done enough. And then two, sometimes they have not been timely, especially courts and the other institutions like UHRC. So for that order to come out, one, it was timely, It was also an important message that yes, we have an institution which can do something, because at the end of the day, the commission is not going to go and open the basement of Mr. Muhoozi to release all the prisoners who are there, because I'm sure it's not only Eddie. But at least you do what you have to do. You do what the law says, and I think that it's welcome. It was a pleasant surprise. It's uploadable on the part of the commission, and I hope that we can continue to see this kind of face, especially in terms of these gross violations. And I also hope that it can reverberate through all other institutions, especially the courts of judicature as well.
Let's move away from the expression of hope, because we are dealing with a stark reality, and ask this question: is this an order? Is it a directive or an appeal?
It's an order. The commission has quasi-judicial powers. It's a constitutional body. It has powers to release, to order the release of any person. In fact, we've always argued and pushed Madam Wangadia that you don't even have to be moved by anyone. Someone doesn't have even to make a plea to you in the first place.
That is right.
Under the Constitution, the commission can move by itself. Even if it watches a story on NTV, it can move by itself. In this case, we are seeing tweets where someone is bragging that I have him. So it is an order, and an order is supposed to take immediate effect. In fact, since by the time of coming here, Eddie was not yet released, and it had been over 24 hours since the order. So they are certainly in contempt of that order as well.
Okay, that's interesting. Now, let me keep on matters of law and maybe understand a little bit deeper on how culpable the CDF is in this. Is it the military that is acting, or it is the person of General Muhoozi Kainerugaba?
Well, both. Both, because one, under the Human Rights Enforcement Act and also the Prevention and Prohibition of Torture Act, one, there is individual liability, but then again, there is also what they call, in cases of torture, like Mr. Muhoozi has bragged how he has tortured Eddie Rogers, even commanders can be held responsible for the actions of their subordinates, for their juniors. So in this case, we even have someone, the commander is bragging, he's saying he's in my basement, he's taking personal responsibility. And all the other tweets that you flagged up there, a person who clearly a commander who is not just in charge of commanding the army, but also commanding the torture. So it's absolutely up to him.
Okay, you are a lawyer and also a member of the National Unity Platform. So in all ways, this is pretty much something that you are in good office to talk about. What's the next course of action as a party? Are you suing the CDF? Are you appealing or petitioning the military? Are you going to Parliament? What's the course of action right now at NUP?
Well, regarding Mr. Sevofo or Eddie Mutwe, one, we filed a matter in the High Court last week where we were seeking his release. That was even before the release order from Madam Wangadia from the UHRC. That's right. That case is yet to be fixed. In fact, after here, one of the actions, I'm going to follow up with the court to see that, because the habeas corpus application by its nature is supposed to be heard urgently, because we're saying that this person, we're not aware where he is. In this case, when we get a chance to go before court, we'll even tell them that it has even been overtaken to the extent that we even know now where he is. We have no doubt that he's in the custody of the army. So we can hope that we shall also seek another release order, if at all he hasn't yet been released. What happens after because the first immediate thing now, the interim relief, is to secure his freedom. To secure his freedom from that unlawful detention. When he's out, when he gets that freedom from the basement, we can now see what other remedies can take over. The other issues like damages, what can only come after we've secured his freedom, because that's the most important thing now. Okay,
great. Now, peering into 2026, the look on the horizon seems a bit hazy. You cannot see much, but we have a feeling. The Daily Monitor today describes it as deja vu, something that you have experienced before and you see happening all over again. The kind of disappearings, the abductions, the kidnapping, we've seen this happen before. But there is fear, and rightly so, that 2026 could unleash fear and brutality by all actors, and this I must be very, very specific, all actors, including private actors, the state, of violence. I'm not saying you should reveal to us how prepared you are to take on that violence, because you're a political actor too. But what does this say or speak of the kind of trajectory that we are taking as a country right now?
Of course, we've been taking a very dangerous trajectory, and not just towards 2026, even prior. And the last 6 years have seen a sharp turn. We have degenerated. Sadly, Chris, this year we are marking 30 years of our constitution since it was promulgated in 1995. That constitution was made on a background of putting a check to executive power. Right from the preamble, it was premised on the fact that there was a lot of abuse of especially executive stroke military authority trampling over civilian rule. So the constitution was meant to make military authority subordinate to civilian rule, and it's a strong thread that runs through. The last 6 years up to where we are now have seen the sharpest turn since the promulgation of our constitution into military rule. Like I've told you in the beginning, we've seen extrajudicial killings on the streets of Kampala. Over 50 people, as per the government report, were shot by stray bullets in November 2020. No one has ever taken responsibility. We've seen detentions without trial. We've seen abductions on the streets of Kampala. They have even become known to the extent that even a police spokesperson can say, we don't know where the person is. Or sometimes they say, security has the person, but we know the person has been held for beyond the mandated 48 hours. So we've seen all these, and we are now even seeing the Command of Defense Forces bragging openly about torture, calling for the hanging, stroke killing, stroke the maiming of political opponents. So we've seen the sharpest turn and degeneration into anarchy, into military rule of the past. And I don't even want to peg it onto only elections. We've seen for the first time since 1995, over 10 Ugandans missing and unaccounted for. The case of the missing persons. We've seen political prisoners being at their highest for something as cheap as wearing a t-shirt or red beret, earning you an indefinite period in detention. So it's indeed a degeneration. It's a sharp turn. And I don't even want to restrict this to political actors. Chris, when the rule of law breaks down, everyone is a victim.
Everyone is a victim.
It doesn't matter. Even people who are in the ruling party, who are now maybe clapping. Of course, I know there are many sober voices who are uncomfortable. But people who are in the ruling party, it doesn't matter. When stones were flying all over Kampala, it didn't matter which party we belong to, or bullets. So I think it will have to be an awakening of the conscience of the nation, irrespective of political parties, that this is in our face, just as the nation was awoken and they said that they needed to confront, because we've slid into a part where we think that constitution, which we all cherished, is just a piece of paper which can be disregarded and respected by wishes.
Interesting there. In 2023, there was a report that was issued by the United States Institute of Peace. It's a Washington-based think tank that drew parallels, including brazen acts of security agencies that continued under the regime after 1986, as happened in the regimes before that. It asserts, and I quote, "Overall, the role of security forces in regime survival has become far more entrenched in the post-1986 Uganda. The regime is also characterized by both continuity with and marked departure from previous regimes. Political uses of the armed forces has deepened, but in contexts where the same elite who recrafted the sector, the rebel leaders turned state leaders, remain in power." So sometimes some thinkers and writers assume that we are holding these leaders to a high ground that we must note, because after all, they are rebel leaders. But my concern is this: when the state denies holding an individual, and then it makes difficult the process of bringing to book those who might be the perpetrators within the state. In other words, you cannot say, we denied last week that we are not holding this person, but here we are prosecuting these ones because they are holding this person. It becomes a bit difficult. Doesn't that complicate the work of lawyers like you?
Of course it does, and largely now it has become a pattern that even if there was a group of people abducting Ugandans, it would be very hard that it's not the state doing it, because the state has institutionalized acting outside the law when it comes to carrying out those abductions, which you call abductions, because an arrest is supposed to be guided by procedural steps. Some of these steps are in the Constitution. Tell me why you're charging me. Let me inform my next of kin or lawyer. Hold me in a gazetted place. Take me to court within 48 hours. Where people do the reverse of each and every aspect. People come dressed like me and you, of course a bit less smarter than we are, but holding guns in unregistered vehicles, take me into a place while beating me without informing me of the charge and hold me indefinitely. That cannot be an arrest. So the question is, why? How comes the agencies, for instance the police, is not keen on investigating such a thing? Is not keen because they are being done by the military, and of course the impunity has even reached such levels, like you mentioned in the preamble, that even police officers themselves are victims of this high-handed men, where
they were beaten by the
and it's not even the first time. Now we've reached an extent where the army comes and beats police officers at their station. We saw another person who was shot, a police officer. He was even amputated in a traffic officer in Tinda, was shot by the army. So these are not isolated incidents. It's a pattern. It's a pattern which shows that we are sliding back, or we are fast into military rule and unchecked military rule. The question is, where are those voices that should be sounding? Because Chris, everyone sees the sad bit about it. You even meet people who are high up in NRM. They are all sad about it. The question is, how comes nothing is being done about this? So where this has been institutionalized, it becomes hard to differentiate. Is this now the official policy, or it's something different?
Interesting there. When you speak of the officer who was amputated after he was shot, it's understood at the time. The story is a bit one that is disturbing. I'm going to have to shelve it for now because there's a lot that we
Oh, you are scared?
Not scared. I'm not the type to be scared, but the disturbing nature, especially in regard to the victims, including the families, it could be something that shouldn't be brought to the fore at exactly this time. We'll be joined shortly by Mr. Fred Bamwine. He's a commissioner in the President's office. We've talked to Mr. Bamwine before on Morning at NTV on the aspect of posts, formal retreats by the CDF. I must be very specific about this issue. There are 3 accounts or handles, especially if you go on X, that you could be mistaken about. There is a handle that is of the CDF, Muhoozi Kainerugaba. There is also a handle that looks exactly like Muhoozi Kainerugaba's, but it's a parody. And then there is a handle that has quotes of the CDF. Now, if you are seeking for information and trying to verify your facts, it could be very, very possible that you could take information that is on the handle that is a parody and clearly stated, or the handle that has the quotes of the CDF and not the handle of the CDF himself. The handles that we are relying on, especially over the last year or so, is the handle of the CDF, General Muhoozi Kainerugaba. What is stuck is the fact that he has stated in very clear terms that it is him that posts and tweets. And he wonders why people think that what he does is a joke. That is a very stark reminder of the reality that we are dealing with right now. But we are glad to be joined by a man who is in the president's office and by extension could know the goings on and about when it comes to who manages and who puts forth some of these tweets. Mr. Fred Bamwine, welcome to Morning at NTV.
Thank you so much, and good morning, viewers, and my colleague, Mr. Musisi. You take this opportunity to thank you, NTV, for inviting us.
We are humbled that you accept our invitation.
You have a specific theme you are handling, but also normally call upon the population to at least plant some food.
No doubt, we shall find time and talk about our agriculture
those who are viewing NTV,
and food security.
Some food. There's some rain going on now. Wherever you are, plant some food for eating and a surplus for sale. All
right, I'll confine you in the conversation that you phoned us, but of course it doesn't say I do not value the information, especially on agriculture and the need for the nation to get ready. No, that is not a question now of who is tweeting. The CDF is holding Eddie Mutwe, the bodyguard of the president of the National Unity Platform. He has promised to only release him to Muhoozi, and Muhoozi is the president, who is also the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. He has also reiterated that we should not see his tweets as a joke. This is in line with what the father said a while back, that these were simple musings. They are no longer musings. Are you in any way taken aback, concerned that this is a very wrong trajectory to be taking?
Thank you so much. One, I regard NTV as one of the top media houses we have.
We are the top.
And therefore, I know within journalism is what even we call investigative journalism.
That is right.
Now, in this country, there are laid out procedures on how government or government agencies communicate to the public. And as we speak now, Twitter or X has not yet been officially recognized as one of the official channels of communication on the government positions or government agencies. But also, when you talk about the CDF, that means you're talking about the Ministry of Defense.
That is right.
The Ministry of Defense has the minister, state ministers, 2 of them, and below there is also a PS. And then below the PS there is a UPDF spokesperson. So if UPDF is putting out something, it must go through the spokesperson of UPDF. And there's no way it is factored that the CDF is the official spokesperson of UPDF. So as far as I'm concerned, I have 2 challenges. One, I want to claim that I'm not so literate about social media as a person.
As a person.
But also, I also want to claim or to say that normally UPDF, when it is going to communicate, it uses the spokesperson of UPDF and the Ministry of Defense and Veteran Affairs to communicate the official positions. Therefore, to me, as far as I'm concerned, I cannot claim officially that what you have stated, being held by CDF, but also CDF does not hold the people procedurally. Even if somebody has been arrested by the military, it cannot be held by a CDF. It is the establishment of the military that can claim so. So as I cannot be his spokesperson, I cannot. But if it was from the Ministry of Defense, through the spokesperson of UPDF, the minister, the state ministers, the PS, then we could take them as official positions.
Great. What you've just done, and I must be very, very candid, is to exonerate the Uganda People's Defense Forces from this. Now, the stark reality is that the Chief of Defense Forces, General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, is acting in his capacity as an individual.
I would claim so if he's right.
That is what I want you to talk about.
Right.
That is what I want you to talk about. He has stated that it is him that is...
Now, if it is him as an individual, really that one, I come from government.
Okay.
I don't speak for individuals. I come from government, I state government position, but not individual positions.
Why do you find it conducive? Why do you find it right to urge Ugandans to plant food when you're not a spokesperson of the Ministry of Agriculture? But
I said, and I want to restate, I said, there are official channels of communication.
Why have you?
You have seen the PS, Minister of Education, I mean the Minister of Agriculture. You have seen the Minister of Agriculture rallying the country, even the President, rallying the country to make sure that they have food security in their homes for consumption and surplus for sale. And that's the government position. And that's what I'm articulating.
You've articulated the government position. When the President addresses his Bazukulu on X, what reason do you have? Do you see us Ugandans who take the President's message when he addresses the nation on X as unreasonable?
Once the President has put up something, normally the Presidential Press Unit also releases a statement in regard to what has appeared in the X. So you capture what has come from Presidential State Unit. But in this particular incident, we are not seeing anything from the Ministry of Defense. We are not seeing anything from the spokesperson
to augment
of the UPDF.
those.
So it puts me in a precarious situation to speak for an individual.
Okay.
And unfortunately, I have not been in touch with him.
You have good offices as a commissioner in the President's office, and one whose opinion on what goes on in the country cannot be missed. If I were to take you off the spot and not require you to talk within the confines or the mandate of the office that you hold, what is your take on Uganda's human rights position right now, especially when those who hold the high offices, including the CDF, are seen to be the ones to lead the violations?
You see, I have always argued with some colleagues of mine and those who oppose government. At times we say Uganda is an old country. 64 years of independence. But the truth is, we are still a young country. I remember about how many years ago when we were saying there is no need for amending the Constitution, about 2-3 years ago, 5. My observation is that the framers of the Constitution in 1995, a majority of them were coming from outside the country because they were in exile. So they made this document making it a replica of where they'd taken exile to. But they forgot that the times evolve and situations evolve. But fortunately, they put in channels that every 5 years, we need to take a reflection. Do we still have the laws that we desired at that time? Do we need to improve them according to the situation or not? Now, as we speak today, if Bamwine is picked by security agencies,
God forbid,
is supported to go, be taken to police, even if it is military. But people have picked him should declare themselves and say, we have taken Bamwine for A, B, C, D. Such his relatives or his friends can know where to get him from. That's one. Two, he should be produced to the courts of law. and the due process takes place. But that is as per the laws of 1995. By 1995, nobody expected that a Ugandan can swallow a bomb and come and bust from here. It was never heard of. It was not expected that time. 1995, this X you are talking about, nobody expected it that you can use 50 shillings and communicate the entire world in Uganda. 1995, nobody expected that you could find Ugandans who could hold sticks or stones and chase security agencies. Nobody expected all this.
Really?
Yes.
Stone throwing is as ancient.
No, I mean civilians beating security agencies. No. It was the other way around.
I mean, human beings have been warriors right from time immemorial. To wield a stick, anybody can wield a stick.
No. I'm talking about who used it to hold the power and use it the way they wanted. It was the state. I'm a man shooting people anyhow. But this time, we have Ugandans, about a month ago, I think you saw it. And
security forces.
Holding a policeman with a gun, and they are wrestling him down. All these issues were not thought about in 1995. That's why the countries which have developed, or developed countries like America, if a policeman stops you on a roadblock or traffic jam or what, and you want to pick a pen from the pocket, he'll shoot you by law, within the law. I think you have heard about a prison called Guantanamo Bay. People who were arrested in 2000, up to now, they have never seen a court clerk passing through a compound. But they are doing it within their laws. So, time has come. Ugandans who wish this country to prosper and be good, to go in the bedroom and in the boardroom and say, we have these kind of laws, and we have these security challenges, and we have these development challenges. What kind of laws do we need? Fortunately, majority of Ugandans aspire to these East Asian countries, the Chinese, the Indians, they have developed. They like the Britons and others. What kind of laws do they have in regard to security? So there's nothing difficult like in Uganda now, leading a country in a democracy.
Mr. Bamwine, many thanks for that submission. I stayed a little bit longer with you because you came a little later, but most importantly, you are the commissioner in the President's office, and your understanding of some of the issues that we are talking about is one that we cannot underestimate. The fact that you speak of changing realities that require to enact laws that should be able to put this into check is one that also triggers a whole new debate. And it's one I would like to shift to George Musisi to submit and respond.
I just had a quick response to what Mr. Bamwine said. Of course, I noticed his discomfort when he's talking about those funny tweets.
No, he's not. He wasn't very uncomfortable. Yes. He's a master of spin.
What is happening? Actually, you know, in the aftermath of the Kawempe North by-election and the violence that you saw, I bumped into a minister, and he told me, "Who do you think is beating up people?" And I said, "I should be asking you." First of all, there is a fusion of. There's what we call a death of institutions and a fusion of individual stroke family role and all of these issues. First of all, many tweets, many official positions have come from this handle. People have been promoted by the CDF and he has communicated it on this handle. People have been, yes, you just have to go through the history. Chris, if you can help the public. He's mentioned people have been promoted and even appointments of CDF have been communicated on that handle, including the one of the last change of our friend saying Kuraiji is going away and this one is going to be in the temporarily. It's off that handle. And then two, they have contravened or even official positions. I remember when in the aftermath of the Kawempe Jat, the Minister of Internal Affairs went to Parliament and said that, you know, our operational procedures, those things were wrong. And the CDF came out and said, no, actually those things were right. Afande Muhoozi is wrong. So there's that fusion. Even when General Muhoozi is saying that our only release talked about Dr. Besigye, only come out from Zaya Laos, our only release Eddie Mutwe. In his when he's tweeting, he's not even talking about the Minister of Defense as a supervisor. You know what happened when Parliament summoned him on that Twitter handle? He said those are clowns, I'll never appear there. And then it had to be left to the minister, who is supposed to be supervisor, to go and try to come up with some sort of... So the issue is, and of course when they insisted, he called for, so what happened? His political group walked in demonstration to Parliament and they ended up somewhere near Katikati and ate food. So the bigger issue is there's a fusion of state institutions and the individual. But then secondly, when Mr. Bamwine talks about changing realities, the issue is our constitution, which is making 30 years this year, envisaged putting military rule below or subordinate to civilian authority. Because they said, mindful of our history, which has been characterized by political instability, including abuse of executive powers
by the military.
So that is the reason why they put all these checks and balances. That's why they put the UPDF and all security agencies below civilian authorities. And they put these civilians to act as an oversight. Now we are seeing an overturn. Before you even talk about the changing realities, what has happened, what has been so wrong with implementation of these laws? Because we are not even asking for better laws. We are saying implement what we have now. The other real changing reality is that today we have soldiers attacking a police station with officers and beating them up. That's another changing reality. And beating them, and nothing has been done and nothing will be done. Trust me. By now, ordinarily, there would be action taken. At least but you can see the Ministry of Internal Affairs is numb. The army's, the spokesperson can't even comment about it because no one even knows how these soldiers serving the same government, attacking a police station, finding officers, their colleagues on duty, and beating them up, leaving them hospitalized. And so that is another changing reality. And if people talk about the issue of the death of institutions, many times people tend to look at it in the sense of opposition versus NRM. And I say that is wrong because we've seen the CDF threatening to arrest one of the top commanders, Mr. Reru. The other day threatening to arrest Mr. Magambo, that I will arrest you in the whole department. So where the rule of law has taken, or a constitution looks like a piece of paper that can be trampled down upon, that is someone limping after being beaten. and so no one is safe, and it's up to all of us, including Mr. Bamwine and all other colleagues, to see that at least in the forest of the law, everyone can hide there.
Interesting realities there. Mr. Bamwine, do you think that it's time, if the reasoning that the realities are different now, that require enactment of laws, we are now faced with a reality where we have a biological son to the Commander-in-Chief and President, being the Chief of Defense Forces. I doubt that the framers of the 1995 Constitution envisaged this scenario. Do you think it's one of the realities that we need to look at enacting laws so that we can deal with any future occurrence of this nature?
Yeah, thank you so much. You are talking of the president's son, but also Bamwine is the son of somebody. Also Musisi is the son of somebody.
That's the reason I'm asking.
So,
is you suggested
no, I'm coming.
We can legislate ourselves out of these things.
So, regardless of your parents or your blood relations, when I'm given this position as a commissioner in the president's office, the question is not who is my relative and who is not my relative. The question is simple. What is my mandate as a commissioner? Then, issues to do with Bamwine, those can be my friends, those can be my relatives, they are not official.
Those are not official.
Maybe if my relative also wants a service from a commissioner, he comes as a Ugandan. And I have always told people, I think I'm one of the living examples. Major of my deployment has been opposition areas. I started from Rwaga, I went to Kawempe.
Maybe you've demonstrated.
I've been around.
A knack to deal with the opposition.
And I can tell you, once you have come to office and you are seeking for a service, I don't question which political party do you believe in. The question is simple: what kind of service do you want from this office? And then we sort it out, because once the president has been elected as a president of Uganda, he is a president for all. His relatives, his children, his supporters in NRM, those who don't support him, those who didn't vote him, he's a president for all. And that's what I expect of any government officer, wherever you are located. But Musisi mentioned something which I think I should bring out. He mentioned about the military being under civilian authority, according to the law. It is very true. But also, he has also forgotten, or he can say it still, civilians also being radicalized to behave as military. It is also being done. Let me use the common word these days. I had Mr. Kyagulanyi about, I think, a month or 3 weeks ago, saying he expects any intending candidate to have a gari. A gari, these are gangs that are supposed to, presumably, to give you your own security.
That's your interpretation, though.
As far as I'm concerned. And we have seen those gangs fighting against themselves. Now, if a leader, even me, if I say, you people who are going to contest, everybody should provide his own security. What's my? Because among the people who are watching us, there are those who support us as there are those who think they are our fans, and there are those who say it has been said on NTV, and it is taken as gospel truth. So I think the problem that is emerging now is irresponsibility of people who hold certain offices or certain positions in society without minding what is the impact of your statements to the population that believe in you. Even if you're a religious person, the message that you give to the people who believe in you can be dangerous to society. And once you start saying that, and your fans get energized, I've always had, when they were going for elections of Kawempe, they were in one of the meetings which were called by the returning officer. Remove military, the rest we shall manage by ourselves. I can assure you, regardless the naturalities in the laws that we have, most of these operations are intelligence-led operations. But the biggest challenge that we have as a country, intelligence, unfortunately, is not shared to the public. And even intelligence cannot be even used in courts of law. But they may find, for instance, that Bamwine is in NTV, but he has a knife to stab the modulator.
God forbid.
They have the message has come.
Perfectly
The intelligence, they have it. But that's not enough. But you cannot allow that incident to happen because it is intelligence. So at times, there are operations which take place to deter a certain situation to not take place. But in actual situations, my observation as a scholar, it's high time as Ugandans who wish this country to move where, to go into back in our boardrooms, in our legislating assemblies, and pick out these laws that are deterrent to the wrongdoers, and also pick out those which can promote the wellness of society.
All right. Of course, legislation, enactment, and what we call editing in my industry happens year in, year out.
Even that just in 30 seconds, Chris, what is the bigger evil? If there's a radicalized population and there's a professional security agencies, they will be able to curb the radicalization, charge them if at all they've committed a crime under the laws, and prosecute them successfully. So you are saying that if the population is radicalized, then the security agency should leave the law and just beat them up. No. Because the last 5 years, what has been the bigger evil? Do we have victims of a Gali, or we have missing persons? We have detentions without trials. Because in any case, we should be having those people, because we're not saying any people should not be prosecuted. If you think they have fallen short of the law, treat them according to the law. Simple as that. Don't do extra legal methods which we thought we had taken note of. I
love the fact that Mr. Bamwine spoke about the fact that those that hold offices, especially high offices, begin to pay attention to what they say and how it affects those that believe in them. I think that's a very good message. One, that speaks not only to the opposition who might say things like Gali or Obombwesa Voleda, but also in videos, including the CDF, on what exactly that message could lead his fans, because he has a following that believes in him, including his ambitions for the presidency. So I think that is a good message on your part. Earlier, you spoke about agriculture. I hope we shall find time and speak about
that. Next week or this week?
Next week. And then we talk to the people about exactly how they can maximize the advantages of weather that we have with us right now. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure having your company. Your perspective has emboldened our understanding. I do hope and pray that the election season is one that doesn't put Uganda on the edge in terms of increased violations. I also hope that restraint can be exercised from all actors within the political process. The voters, the candidates, the security agencies, and the top government officials, because without restraint, there is a tendency for anarchy, because words ignite fires, and fires cause destruction. On Morning at NTV, we hope that you can restrain yourself and do the right thing as we go into the political season. Morning at NTV does continue. We have discussions that are coming up, including on the Women's Manifesto, but also residents of Natete that have concerns, especially when it comes to infrastructure development. Do stay with